it looks like the marriage is over between Kim Zolciak and Kroy Biermann. She has filed for divorce. She is pulling the plug on their 11-year marriage. There were rumblings about this for a while, that things were on the rocks. But now she has pulled the trigger, and she has filed for divorce.
And this is especially telling because just earlier this morning, we published yet another story about Kim and Kroy and their financial trouble. They owe the IRS upwards of $1 million, $1.1 million, in fact, in unpaid taxes, fines, fees, etc. And on top of that, they owe the state of Georgia separate taxes. I think $15,000 worth is what we had. So they're kind of in some financial trouble, it seems.
And yeah, just because, you look at it and say, well, it's taxes. Well, it's not taxes. It usually reflects a bigger issue, which is financial trouble. Financial trouble torpedoes lots of relationships. I mean, that is a stressor that accounts for a huge chunk of the divorces in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guys, we know that from the documents, Kim lists April 30th as the date of separation.
Oh, wow.
That's what she sees as the date of separation.
Oh, so it's really recent.
It is very, very recent. Obviously, we've made calls to try to find out if there was a specific thing that triggered this divorce. Again, people are obviously going to speculate that maybe the money problems were obviously, I'm sure, a factor in this. This is her second divorce, though, for Kim.
This is a big deal because they've been married more than a decade, right, Brendan? Like, they've been together for a long, long time, dating back to her Roa days, right?
Right. So they met in 2010. So it's been quite some time, 11 years of marriage, yeah.
Well, kids?
They have 4 kids together.
Four kids.
Yeah.
What is she asking for joint custody?
I believe she is, yeah. I think she's asking for joint custody. And also keep in mind,
well, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that's always the marker for me, is when somebody asks for joint custody, it's so different than when they ask for sole physical or legal, because that gives you an idea that there's not a war going on necessarily.
Well, she's actually asking for primary physical custody and joint legal custody, so it may indicate that she wants to care for this
Scratch
kid,
that.
Yeah.
So she wants primary physical?
Primary physical, but joint legal, she said, with generous visitation, I believe, some way like that.
I got to tell you, that's a marker to me, and I'll tell you why. When you say joint custody, it doesn't mean 50-50 down the line. You can structure joint any way you want. You could do 30-70 or 40-60 or whatever you want. The concept of calling something joint custody means that people are co-parenting. When you ask for primary physical, it really has a different impact on the family, on the kids, because it looks like the other person is just kind of occasionally in and then out.
Right.
And as opposed to being in there all the time. So when somebody asks for primary physical, that really is a marker. And it, to me at least, in my experience, what I've seen is it usually shows that things are not necessarily pleasant between the two of them when something like that happens.
And what's interesting here is Kim is actually making a couple cameos on this upcoming season of Real Housewives of Atlanta, not as a full-time housewife, but one could only imagine now our producer's going to be making a phone call over to her.
I have a question about that. So would it be in her best interest to perhaps entertain Bravo and say, yeah, I'll take another full-time gig as a main cast member because, look, apparently I'm in money trouble right now. I'm going through a divorce. And not only that, but her Georgia home recently entered foreclosure. So maybe Bravo, the cash cow's there again. I wonder if we're going to see her again on TV.
Well, also, it's a storyline, too.
Yes.
It's a storyline.
Hi, my name is Nandi from West Virginia, and my thoughts on this are either she needs to call Big Papa or she needs to get that because my sis needs the money.
Wait, so who's Big Papa?
Big Papa was her boyfriend before, while she was on Real Housewives of Atlanta.
It's
always referred to as Big Papa.
Thank you for connecting those dots, Derek.